When your toddler refuses dinner, you do what every parent does. You ask for just one bite, but that one phrase, just one bite, is activating a stress response in your child's brain that shuts down their appetite completely. It's called pressure to eat. And it's the first of 4 feeding mistakes that accidentally train kids to resist food. By the end of this video, you'll know all 4 and how to reverse them. Here's what's happening. When you pressure your child to eat, even gently, you're activating their biological stress response. This floods their body with hormones that actively suppress appetite. So the more you encourage, the less hungry they feel. But pressure to eat is just mistake number 1. Mistake 2 is making backup meals. Mistake 3 is turning on screens during dinner. And mistake 4 is stopping your child from touching their food. Most parents are doing all 4 without realizing it. Let's start with pressure. This shows up in almost every household. It sounds like, you can have dessert when you finish. 3 more bites and then you're done. You liked this yesterday. And here's why even these gentle phrases backfire. But here's what you might not realize. Even gentle pressure signals to the brain that eating is performance, not autonomy. When you ask your child to take just one bite, their brain registers that food is something they need to be convinced to do. And the moment eating becomes about pleasing you instead of listening to their own body, their natural hunger cues get overridden. There's actual neuroscience behind this. When a child feels pressured, their survival instinct kicks in. Their body releases stress hormones that immediately shut down digestion and suppress appetite signals. It's a biological response they can't control. Think about it this way. Imagine someone hovering over you at a restaurant saying, "Eat, come on, just do it." You'd shut down too. You'd lose your appetite completely. This pattern shows up consistently in feeding research. A common scenario. A parent reports that their child ate chicken nuggets fine last week. But this week, when the child refuses and the parent starts negotiating, just 2 bites, the child digs in harder. Because now, it's not about whether she's hungry, it's about control. So, what do you do instead? You follow what's called the division of responsibility. This is a framework developed by feeding expert Ellen Satter. And it's incredibly simple. You decide what food is offered, when it's offered, and where meals happen. Your child decides whether to eat and how much to eat. That's it. You put food on the table, you model enjoying it, and then you back off completely. No counting bites, no bargaining, no hovering. You eat your own meal, you talk about your day, and you let them decide what goes in their body. Now, I know this feels terrifying, but when children are given autonomy without pressure, research shows they start tuning back into their hunger. And that's when real progress begins. Changing this one habit makes one of the biggest differences. Now, removing pressure is the foundation. But there's a second mistake that quietly undermines everything. Mistake number 2, short order cooking. Children need to see a new food 10, 15, even 20 times before it feels safe enough to try. But there's a behavior pattern that prevents this exposure from ever accumulating. Short order cooking. This is when you make one meal for the family, your child refuses it, and you make them something else. Maybe it's a separate plate of plain pasta, maybe it's a peanut butter sandwich, maybe it's cheese and crackers. Cooking a second meal feels like kindness, like you're being responsive to your child's needs. But when your child refuses dinner and you offer an alternative, you're accidentally teaching them that resistance leads to a better outcome. Their brain learns, I don't have to even try this food. If I wait, something I like better will appear. And if they know a backup meal is coming, they never build that familiarity. They never get past the discomfort of seeing something new on their plate. Research into feeding patterns reveals a common cycle. When parents consistently offer alternatives after dinner refusal, children begin refusing even previously accepted foods. In documented cases, children who regularly received pasta as a backup option started refusing chicken, vegetables, and even foods they'd eaten willingly the week before. Because why settle for chicken when spaghetti was always an option? So here's what you do instead. You create a weekly menu plan that relies on familiar family favorites. Don't worry about variety yet. Repetition is your friend. This makes the menu predictable instead of surprising. And within that meal, you include one safe food your child already accepts, like bread, fruit, or plain rice. Think simple and nutritious, not a dessert or a treat. Now, here's the critical difference between this and the mistake we just talked about. Short order cooking happens after they refuse. The safe food is on the plate before they sit down. That way, they're never sitting in front of a plate with nothing they can eat, but the boundary stays clear. You serve everything family style when possible. Put the food in bowls on the table. If they're old enough, let them serve themselves. If they're little, you plate it for them, but keep the foods in separate piles. They might only eat the safe food at first. That's okay. You keep showing up with the same meals, in the same rotation, without pressure. This takes time, but what you're doing is building trust. Trust that meals are predictable, that no one's going to force them to eat, and that new foods aren't a threat. And that's when kids start exploring on their own. So now you're offering one meal, including safe foods, and you've removed the pressure. But the first 2 mistakes are about what you're offering. This next one, this is about something you're doing that's actually preventing your child's brain from learning to eat at all. Mistake number 3, distracted eating. Try this right now. Think about what would happen if you served your child's next meal without a screen. Would they panic, refuse food, say they're not hungry, even though it's the exact same food they ate yesterday with a tablet? If so, you've discovered something important. Distracted eating has disconnected them from their hunger cues. And here's why that matters. When a screen is on, or a toy is in their hand, or they're focused on earning a reward, they're not paying attention to the food. They're not noticing the texture, the taste, the smell. They're not registering whether they're hungry or full. The brain cannot encode sensory food experience without focus. Think about that for a second. Your child could eat the same food 100 times with a screen on, and their brain would never register it as familiar, because they weren't present. This isn't about bad parenting. This is about neuroplasticity. And it means that every distracted meal is essentially a missed meal in terms of learning. Think about the last time you ate while scrolling on your phone. You finished the meal and you barely remember tasting it, right? You weren't present. The same thing happens with kids. When they eat while distracted, their brain doesn't file away that sensory information. So the food stays unfamiliar. It stays uncomfortable. This creates long-term texture and sensory avoidance. They never learn to recognize internal hunger signals, and they never build positive associations with the act of eating. This shows up consistently. A child eats just fine with a tablet in front of them. But the moment you take the screen away, they panic. They refuse food. They say they're not hungry because they've never actually learned how to eat without distraction. The skill wasn't developed. So what do? You transition to mindful eating. But you do it gradually. If screens are part of every meal right now, you don't have to remove them overnight. That would be a huge disruption. Instead, you step it down slowly. Start by swapping the tablet for an audiobook or calm music. You remove the visual distraction, but keep the auditory comfort. Then eventually, you move to just conversation. Maybe this week, you turn the show off 5 minutes before the meal starts. Next week, the screen stays off for 10 minutes. You're building tolerance for focus, little by little, and during meals, you model what mindful eating looks like. You talk about the food, not in a pressuring way, but in a noticing way. This broccoli is crunchy. I like the way this smells. You're teaching them to pay attention. Now, I know this feels hard, especially if screens are the only way your child currently eats, but slow change works. You're not taking away their security all at once. You're gently guiding them toward a skill they need, the ability to be present with food. Here's where things get surprising. Even when meals are pressure-free, consistent, and distraction-free, there's one more step many parents skip, and it's actually the foundation that makes everything else possible. Mistake number 4, limited sensory exposure. Picture this, a child sitting at the table staring at a plate of broccoli. They don't touch it, don't taste it. Most parents see this as refusal, but developmental research into sensory processing reveals something different. That child isn't refusing the food. They haven't even reached the stage where refusal is possible, because they haven't touched it yet. Kids learn food through touch long before they learn it through taste. When we skip the sensory exploration phase, the squishing, the smelling, the poking, we're skipping a critical step in food acceptance. We avoid messes because parenting already feels exhausting. We don't let kids touch their food because we don't want to clean the high chair again. We serve everything pre-cut, pre-portioned, and ready to eat. I completely understand that impulse. Mess is overwhelming when you're already stretched thin. But here's what happens when we do this. Children need to feel safe with food before they'll eat it. And safety is built through sensory integration. That means they need to touch it, smell it, look at it up close, maybe lick it or put it near their mouth without eating it. This is how their brain processes. This is not a threat. There's actual neural development that happens when kids bring their hands to their face with food. It builds the pathway between hand exploration and oral exploration. If we skip straight to put it in your mouth, we're asking them to jump a step their brain isn't ready for. Feeding development studies document a consistent pattern. When children are allowed to interact with foods without pressure, touching, smelling, exploring, acceptance rates increase significantly. In one documented case, a child who avoided all vegetables began with simple exploration. He poked a cucumber, he smelled a bell pepper, he squished a cooked carrot in his hand. Over several weeks, he started bringing those foods closer to his mouth, then tasting them. Because touching or smelling counts as exposure progress. It's not wasted time, it's the foundation. So here's what you do. You create no-stakes sensory play. Put foods on the table and let your child interact with them however they want. No expectation that it goes in their mouth. You can do this outside of meals too. Cooking together, washing vegetables, sorting foods by color. And during meals, you serve food family style when possible. Let them plate themselves. Let them touch and rearrange. Yes, it's messier, but mess is learning. And if your child has sensory sensitivities or strong texture aversions, this becomes even more important. You're not pushing them to eat. You're giving them safe ways to explore at their own pace. That's where real change happens. Now, I know what you're thinking right now, but what if they don't eat anything? This is the fear that keeps parents negotiating, offering backup meals and turning on screens. It's completely understandable. The instinct to ensure your child is fed is one of the most powerful drives you have. Here's the reality. For a healthy, growing child, the body has reliable hunger regulation. One refused meal, or even 3, will not cause harm. Please note, if your child has a specific medical condition or growth concerns, check with your pediatrician first. But for most kids, the hunger will return. In fact, research into appetite regulation shows that children often need to experience genuine hunger in order to reestablish connection with their internal cues. That doesn't mean let them starve. It means trust that hunger will return, usually by the very next scheduled snack, and when it does, they'll eat. What if my child has sensory issues? Then these strategies become even more important. You're not lowering standards, you're giving them the tools to build tolerance at their own pace. And if you're concerned about a sensory processing disorder, it's worth talking to a pediatric occupational therapist. Do I have to do all of this perfectly? Absolutely not. You're going to have days when you're exhausted and you hand them crackers for dinner. That's okay. Progress isn't perfection. It's consistency over time. What matters is the overall pattern you're building. Research into feeding intervention outcomes reveals a consistent timeline. When families implement these principles, removing pressure, eliminating backup meals, serving family style with safe foods, and allowing sensory exploration, a predictable pattern emerges. For the first few weeks, nothing changes. Children continue eating only their safe foods. Parents report frustration and concern. But then, often after a few weeks of consistency, something shifts. Children begin interacting with new foods. A poke, a smell, a lick. And over the following months, we see children expanding from 4 or 5 accepted foods to 12 or more. More importantly, mealtimes become calm. The fighting stops, the stress dissolves. Not because parents found a magic trick, but because they stopped trying to control eating and started trusting developmental readiness to lead. So let's recap what we've covered. Mistake number 1, pressure to eat. Even gentle encouragement can backfire. Remove the pressure and trust your child's hunger cues. Number 2, short order cooking. No backup meals. Serve one meal with at least one safe food included, and keep it consistent. Number 3, distracted eating. Transition away from screens and distractions gradually so your child can tune into their body. Number 4, limited sensory exposure. Let them touch, smell, and explore food without pressure to eat it. Small, consistent changes lead to big results. You don't have to overhaul everything overnight. Pick one thing. Start there. Now, you've learned what not to do. But there's one ingredient missing, the one thing that makes kids actually want to try new foods. French parents use it automatically. American parents accidentally remove it. Click the next video to see what it is.